you're watching this video, you know what we're talking about. If not, stick with us. Eventually you'll catch on.
I'm L.K.Morales, and I am the creator of Nightlight.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about like Nightlight and what inspired you to get started.
Well, Nightlight was a project I did when I was like in 10th grade, and I kind of kept it under. It's one of those things where I looked at it, it was there, but I didn't think much of it. And I went back to it a few years back because the story just stuck with me. And Nightlight's really about this character's journey of being something greater than what she thinks she's worth, you know? It's a journey story. So it's like, she's not really good at anything, but she's trying, you know? And I feel like that's a lot of people right now, especially our generation, where we don't have a lot of options, but we're trying our hardest to live our best life.
I love your name. Like, I love the way that you style it because it's just it's so fancy, like regal. So,
I didn't want, kind of dumb, but I didn't want everybody to know whether I was male or female. So I kept it L.K.Morales.
Okay.
So it's now it's not a mystery, but
it was a mystery.
Yeah.
Okay, and is it because like do you think more people would read your comic if they thought you were a man, or because
I guess sort of that was the reason why, but also because I just didn't want anybody to really know who I was, that because I'm still growing and I still am learning, and so I just wanted to be on the down low for a bit. Yeah.
Well, and also too, like think about it, like you want people to focus on the comic.
Exactly.
So many times people get like wrapped up in all this,
female.
And you're like, okay, but like, do you not see all this awesome stuff?
Yeah,
like, do you not see this
don't
artwork?
worry about that. Just look at this artwork, please. Okay, that's the thing that I wanted to make on Nightlight was I have a lot of characters, and so far it's only 3 that you know of.
Okay,
But like I have a lot of characters, and the reason is that I want them all to. They're all people that I just know, and they're all people that I like know in me, basically.
Yeah.
And I want them to be relatable. I want people to relate to these characters.
That's great. But clearly there's like a million things in the comic that you're really hitting hard. Like, first of all, the color scheme. I don't think anybody has like pointed it out, but seriously, your color scheme draws me in so much. I love it.
I really looked at it.
It's a vibrant dark. It's a vibrant dark.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Okay,
I've never, well, not that I've never seen it, because now everybody's going to be like, well, what about this Marvel movie? People do not come for me on this. Like, please do not come for me. But honestly, I don't often see, like, the dark vibrancy. Like, yeah, we see our classic, like, dark red mixed with black.
Yeah.
Or green mixed with purple. But each one of your characters has, like, a very specific color scheme to them, even though they blend. Like, and they're very different. Each one had their very own like setting, their own background, their own color. It was so good. It was like I wanted to have them as like a palm reading cards or a tarot kit or something. Like I would love to see that because the colors, each one very different, but popped and made the main focus. It was very clear. Like the contrast was good, but then when I read the whole comic together, it didn't look like, okay, now pause in the comic. I could still see them coming together in one world. Like it was really well done.
Well, we can spoil this part.
Yeah.
This part that's about the Orions. You're talking about.
Yeah.
So the Orions are, for those who haven't read the comic, the Orions are the people who are like the guardians of the world. So they protect the world from like catastrophic dangers. So if some, like let's say in the world of like, let's say vampires want to try to take over, the Orions will step in and be like, nah, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So the Orions are like the police basically, but just stronger. There's only currently 9. And so I drew them all out individually to say, because I wanted to see them. Most of the time when I draw them out, the characters out, I want to see what they look like. Yeah. And so I drew them out, and you're right, I did give them their own color scheme. So they each had their own. And then I think there was the one that was the hardest was my Orion that was from Africa. She was hard because it was like, what does she look like? I had to play with her hairstyle so much. And because I wanted to keep her looking strong, but also like a mother, also give that motherly vibe, and then also give her her own color. I think she was probably the hardest one out of all of them.
Yeah, she was like one of my top 3. I thought she was number 1 just because I love the contrast of the like night and the water and just like, dude, I could see that as just a painting itself.
Well, she was originally supposed to be a water witch.
Yeah.
And that's why I had her a lot in the water. But the thing was that I was like, she's supposed to be an Orion. She's supposed to be really powerful. She can't just be controlling water. This isn't Avatar. So you know, just gave her everything.
Yeah, she gotta be able to kick butt too. Yeah,
so,
she can't just like splash somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the Norwegian one, or is from Ireland or something. It was more
is
like
the girl.
Yeah,
she's
with
from,
the red.
Yeah.
Red.
I love her.
She was so powerful.
That
like
one's
she
Ember. She's from, I believe, and I don't even remember my own characters. There's so many of them. I believe I made her from Scotland. Yeah, I made her from Scotland. And I made her, she had a whole different background. Like, I had, like, I have to think about each one of those backgrounds, and it's a lot. So they've each got, like, I have this huge filing cabinet box, and so they've all got their own thing, because it's so much, and it's like I don't want to forget any of it. And see, that's the thing, like, characters get recycled. There's a lot of characters that I made that I never used but are being recycled currently, so you never know when you're going to pick them up again.
So not to ruin any more, we're going to jump into our next part, which I think you all are going to like a lot, which is our behind the scenes.
Okay, for sure.
Cool.
These creatures in this world are normal, so they have to have normal things, you know? They're not hidden either. We all know about them. So, like, blood gems would be like the vampire candy.
Things that are in my bag.
Yeah, sunscreen for vampires, you know, eclipse clothing. We'll get into that later, because we got to know how they're staying alive and how they've stayed alive this long. So we go into that into the fourth book, where Hikari is going to be, there's going to be a scene where she's shopping, and we get to get introduced with all this stuff, even vampire makeup that has SPF in it, all this stuff in it. So I went that far into it, guys.
You see this? This is love. This is love.
This is a... I didn't want to draw it again, so I kept it, because this was kind of hard to draw. I'm not good at line work. I'm getting there, though. So this is for our Orion that is from Korea, and this is on his back. So this is the Dokebi, which is the goblin. He's a goblin. So, not based off the Korean show Goblin, I swear. I didn't know about it till after, okay? So, this is actually a nightmare dream. Or nightmare scene. And I wanted to show that Hikari is actually scared of werewolves. And I wanted to keep emphasizing the fact that she's scared of werewolves.
Peek, and then we're gonna look at some like original footage, original paintings, handmade with love and tears and everything. Blood, don't forget the blood. Hashtag blood.
So flashback scenes are my favorite. I love flashback scenes because we get to see Hikari, we get to see a little bit of her dad and not too much of it. I wanted to keep him fuzzy for now, because I'm still working on his background, and his background's really cool. I love his background so far. I'm working on Styx too, because he's more than just a side character. Like, he is somebody.
Right.
So there's a tip on that one, or a hint, I should say, on that one. So everybody loved this cat. Everybody loved him when I first brought it out. His name's Mr. Onion. I wanted a really weird name for him, like a name they both picked out.
Right.
To make this clear, because I think everybody is kind of iffy on this, they're not brother and sister, and they're not together. These two are really good friends, and their story is actually in volume 4. We get to read why they're good friends. So it's in there.
Shout out to Mr. Onion.
Shout out to Mr. Onion. I love Mr. Onion. He was so fun to draw, because he's just one of those cats that's like, I'm really hungry and you guys are talking about crap. Like, can you just feed me already? Yeah. And like, everybody loved this scene, and I loved it too. It was one of my favorite scenes.
So what are some three like super secret Ivory Hearts exclusive behind the scenes?
Oh, okay. I had, for this new one, I'm working on volume 4. So volume 4, if you've read volume 3, then this will be a sneak peek for volume 4. If this is a spoiler, whatever, you can stop right here. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Run.
Okay.
I'll put a caption. Beware. You are now entering the spoilers.
Right. These are pages that I worked on already. They're done, except for the bubbles. They only don't have the bubbles, so you don't know what's going on. the characters are inspired by people I have met or know. A lot of them aren't. Well, actually, one thing that probably a lot of people wouldn't know is that actually a lot of these characters are me. So, but they're me in different like phases of life.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until somebody pointed it out when they're like, this is like basically you, but when you were going through this phase in your life. So,
Oh, wow.
that's how you know it kind of like,
Yeah.
my life inspires me to, what is that called? Life inspires art or whatever, some shit like that.
Take the red pill. Take the
No, but they are. They're mostly, I'd like to think that they're different people, but they're also, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, they're also me in different phases of life.
Yeah.
Another one would probably be that a lot of research goes into Nightlight, and I don't think people understand that when I say that, because there have been days where I would literally go to the library and just stay there for hours and look up lores on either vampires, not really vampires, because I've known everything about vampires since I was a kid, but like the lore of like a lot of these, like so much research goes into these things that I even had to like hire people to do it for me because I was so busy. So like they'd have to look up like, oh, what is this creature, around what time was it made,
right,
what do they eat, how do they how can they be killed, stuff like that, basically, because it plays into the story.
Yeah.
So there was a lot I had to look for werewolves. There was a lot I even looked up for angels, because there is an Orion that's a half angel, and I had to look up research on that, and there are stories on that, so that was interesting. I learned so much just from research alone. So that one was cool. Another one would be that there are scenes that are made that weren't pre-planned, and for some odd reason, I don't know what it is about this comic, but a lot of the scenes that I'll think of and I'll draw them out, and then they'll stay there for a couple years, and then it ends up fitting somewhere. Like, it's really weird. It's like a puzzle, and it keeps fitting. It amazes me, honestly, how much of this comic fits together, and I didn't mean for it to do so. The main villain in this story, I had a hard time connecting with, because I have to connect with them. I have to know their backstory. Yeah. And I had a hard time connecting with that villain because there's two villains so far in the story, and one of them, and I told this to somebody, and it's the truth. The main villain is Katie's. Okay, so that's Katie's, and Katie's is based on what I hate about the world, or what I hate about people. Yeah. And the other villain would be Dahlia, and she's what I hate about myself. So it's really going in there and figuring out. Yeah. When I made Dahlia, which I kind of feature her not so often anymore because I'm not in that state anymore, but when I made her, it was genuinely, I was in a really bad place at the time, and that's how she got made, and she helped me a lot. So if I do draw her, and I did have somebody tell me too, like, when are we going to meet Dahlia? And I was like, not for a really long time, because she takes a lot out of me. Yeah. It's emotionally draining. Yeah, she's very emotionally draining, because I have to get into that being of what she is and why she does what she does. And I actually made another villain, because I realized, like, there's not a lot of villains in this thing. I gotta make more, you know? So I made a villain for another character coming up, and I'm not gonna say who right now. But I made a villain for him, and she's fun. She's very fun, because she's not a villain that I hate. She's not based on anybody that I hate. She's just a very fun, like I think people would like this villain more than the other two, honestly. Like, she's there, you know, and she's a recycled character. Okay, perfect. So that's how you know, don't throw away anything. You know? Recycle it.
Here we are, already segueing into our next part about, like, tips for comics. We've already mentioned, like, two really strong ones on, like, don't throw away any of your ideas. Recycle. Yeah.
So for the top 5 tips, one of them is going to be rough draft like crazy. Rough draft like crazy. Keep doing the same scene over and over again. This is a final rough draft, but the other rough drafts were actually on paper. So rough draft like crazy, okay? Because one rough draft isn't enough. It's not going to be enough. And then make the scene short if you're doing a short conversation. That's the second tip. Your scene, if you're just doing something really quick, it shouldn't take you 15 pages.
Yeah.
It should take you like 1 or 2 or 3 max, 5 maybe. Try to fit it all in there. So that's why you have to rough draft like crazy to say, okay, this scene's too long. These are the originals for book 1 and book 2. I did it all by hand because I did not have an iPad at the time. This is how it's set up. So I have to rough draft it first and then figure out what scenes are gonna fit. Everything of this is marker and paint. That's it. And it was all black and white because I didn't want to waste time doing it in color because I knew I was going to take longer. So it's all in black and white, gray tones. And there's some people that like this better, but I worked really hard on the digital, so you should like that too.
You're like, they're both lovable.
Yeah, exactly. Another tip, which would be the third one, is if you're having trouble, which I always do all the time, have trouble with setup. Mind you, these are the beginning, so I've learned a little more now. And so all this was hand done, and then I redid it digitally because I wanted it to just look better, you know. And you can see it though too on digital. You can see it. You can see that I'm still learning, and so it looks like I'm still learning. But yeah, so picture it like a movie. Like, you really have to picture it like a movie. Like, so this was my first fight scene, okay? So I was a little, but you literally have to say, like, bam, bam, bam. It's got to be done quick. So how do you picture that? How do they do it in a movie? And also you have to, I kind of like watch animes too, because they do fight scenes so good to where you can like see what they're doing, you know? The fourth tip. So the final tip would be avoid cliche characters in love stories. And especially the whole love story thing. That's a must. There was a tip that was super helpful for me when I was writing this story, and that was the most cliche story on earth is the guy treating the girl like crap, right? And then they end up falling for each other. That's not realistic, guys. Keep it realistic.
Keep it realistic, guys. Guys, don't be jerks. That's not how you get our heart.
And the same, and vice versa. Like, you're not gonna fall for some jerk. You're just not. You know, like maybe you might, but if they're a jerk for you like crazy, that's not gonna happen. So there you go, folks. Do not throw away any of your ideas, because later you can come back. You feel different. You could even develop it more. Like, I could see that was a good start, but we're just gonna tweak it. And If especially like if it's bad and you know you're not gonna use it, then whatever, throw it away. But if it's good and you know, like, let me just keep that. You know, you never know. Just go with your gut.
Like, we have sketchbooks for a reason to sketch in it too. Exactly. Don't always feel like, oh my God, I wrote this down.
Yeah, you're gonna have like 50 bad ones before you get to that one good one, and it's normal. It's normal. They're not always gonna come out great. And that's the thing with the artists, is that they always, when they would come up to me, these newer artists, and they would be like, oh, my stuff isn't that great, whatever, and it's like, okay, everything you see on Instagram, it's staged. How many times did this artist have to do that in order to get to that good picture that you see? You know, like, you're not seeing all their sketches. You're seeing just that one good one, you know?
And also, like, you're looking at someone's page who has, 10.5K followers.
Exactly.
They've been on Instagram for 2 years. You've been on Instagram for 15 minutes. Give it some time. Give it some time. He was like, see you all in therapy.
I know, see you all in therapy.
I feel where he was coming from. When I was younger, I didn't quite appreciate that.
That's kind of funny, because it's true. Like, you understand plankton now.
You're like,
You understand plankton and squid.